Why have I quit my job? Why have I, bought a van? And why am I going to drive around the country? Well, I'm passionate about the idea that you need to be heard. And I want to stitch these stories together across the states. We're going to find the commonalities, and it's going to be really an amazing experience, and I look forward to you joining me on the jar. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Mental Health Today. I'm your host, Ken. Little video and audio from almost 2.5 years ago when I started the JAR podcast, traveling around the country, rocking up to people's homes with a big jar of questions, going into their living room and sitting down and getting to know them. An incredible journey across the country, 96 cities, 330 plus interviews, and really a peek into humanity for me, and right in somebody's living room. It's a great entry point to kind of discover who people are and what's going on in the world. And, through that, I heard a lot of stories, a lot of struggles that prompted me and kind of motivated me to start this podcast, Mental Health Today, to get professionals on, people in the industry, and find out what they're doing and what they're working on and how they're looking at the mental health crisis, as well as to hear stories from people who have gone through something and kind of overcome it, to give a little bit of hope and add a little bit of conversation and color to the mental health journey that everybody's on. We're all it's kind of funny. Dr. Amelia Kelley, our next guest, welcome.
Hello.
It's kind of funny. We were talking earlier about, the suicidal ideations being on a spectrum. And I think, mental health is a bit of a spectrum probably too, Amelia, right? I mean, we're all somewhere on the spectrum. We're either happy or a little bit bummed out at some point, even during the day or, certainly during the week or during the month. Welcome to the show. Thanks for being a guest.
I am thrilled to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. This is a tough topic. I think what, we're going to talk about, really surviving suicidal ideation. And I had a couple of guests on the jar that talked about what it's like to be in that black space and how they counted seconds. It
Wow.
wasn't days to get through it. It was not min. They said it wasn't in hours. It wasn't minutes. I was just counting seconds to get to the next 1 minute. If I can survive this minute, I can get to the next minute. And even Sharon, we lost a guest from this show a couple months ago. So, it's close to us, and it's people you meet, and we talked one in 16 people, possibly, and it's somebody on the elevator you're on with, having,
Could be.
struggling. So, and interesting. So you wrote the book with, you're writing the book with an old guest, Gina Cavalier. Tell us,
Yes.
yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you end up co-writing a book with not a therapist?
With a non-therapist. Well, from a previous book that I'd written, I was on her podcast, The Liberated Healer, and she's very drawn to making decisions based on spirit and based on just
Mm.
intuition. And she said she just felt something when we met. So she reached out shortly after and had asked if I would be open to the project. And the funny thing is I was actually under contract already writing another book. So I was writing 2 books at once.
Oh, ouch.
I would not recommend that. I'm hopeful to not be in that position again in the future. But it was such an important topic and
Yes.
such a creative way of addressing it too, in a dynamic way that I
Mm.
think I thought about my own clients that I could see actually relating to this kind of book, and
Yes.
I couldn't pass it up.
Yeah. And to have have a partner, right? You've done your own books.
Mhm.
And I think to have a partner is a real different animal, right? It's kind of fun. Like, it would be hard to say no. And Gina's she's pretty charismatic. Like, it would be hard to say no to her.
You are right. She is charismatic. And if anything, I think there were moments in writing the book where she challenged me in a very positive way because at the forefront, I am an empath, I am an artist, but I'm also very much a scientist. And the
Yes.
way that
Right.
I see the world is through a very scientific lens and a researcher's lens. And there were moments in the book where she had to remind me it's okay to peel that back and get into your creative space and get into your spiritual space. And I was very grateful for that because it I think, helped the book open up to such a better place
Yeah,
because of
yes, for
that.
sure. Yeah,
Mhm.
you get a different I mean, you're speaking to a different audience
Mhm.
with
Right, exactly.
that change of maybe that
Mhm.
almost a point of view.
Absolutely, and even our publisher, the Swedenborg Foundation, that is their whole premise. I mean, it's all, iterations after Swedenborg himself, who was a researcher and a theologian, so it's just a very different animal.
A researcher and a theologian. Well, he must have had some conflicts in his life and career.
I mean, this was hundreds of years ago too. He was very ahead of his time, and according to some research, he was one of the most high IQ individuals that ever was recorded. So his writings are
Oh.
very interesting.
Oh,
Mhm.
that would be interesting because you can almost
Mhm.
be unreachable if you're that smart in some way. You know,
But
if
then what if you ground yourself
and
into
s
spiritualism?
into spiritualism, right? Very
Mhm.
interesting.
Mhm.
Tell us a little bit about the book.
Sure.
What do we find in there? What are you trying to communicate or story?
So, what we are trying to do, or what we tried to do with the book, was create essentially a whole experience. I mean, starting off with witnessing what suicidality can look like. What are the
Okay.
warning signs? What are the stages? What are the stages of healing? What are the stages of forgiveness? So, we do offer a lot of almost like trail markers of what this might look like,
Mm,
but woven throughout the entire book is her lived experience, her memoir, which is really wild, honestly.
I yes.
Yes, her story is very dynamic. So you have her story that is being grounded in these trail markers, and then along the way, based on what she's going through, I'm
Yeah.
offering research-backed clinical interventions.
Oh.
Right, so it's
Oh,
almost like
very cool.
it could almost be seen like group therapy in a
I
weird way between the 3 of us, the reader, Gina, and myself.
Yeah, okay.
Mhm.
And so it's like a roadmap almost, like a little journey.
Definitely.
It's like a journey, like almost
Absolutely.
like the Wild Going West and every place
Mhm.
she's part of her life journey and the struggles, and then a clinical way to look at it.
And, the neat
Huh.
thing too is that there is this bridge, I think, between you'll notice aspects of the book that are much, much more rooted in spiritualism,
Mhm.
much, much more rooted in science. And then I think there's this common ground where we overlap, and you can actually see it throughout the book because there's these beautiful little symbols that indicate which one of us is talking. And then there's these moments where there's no symbol. And it's when there's certain meditations and certain interventions, and it's both of us speaking to you.
Ooh,
Mhm.
interesting. Oh, and so
Yeah.
you also have meditation. It sounds like a real like a
Oh,
I don't wanna say self-help book, but it's like it sounds like
it's
it's
a
a ve
journey.
that's
Yeah.
interesting. I love the idea. I just started
Yeah.
doing these guided meditations.
Mhm.
Um, and the one I'm listening to now is my favorite one is Joe Dispenza does
I have
one.
heard that name. I have to look that person up because you are not the first person who has
Oh, yeah,
mentioned
you
him.
gotta look him up. He is,
Mhm.
doing some incredible stuff around brain work.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
just amazing. And he's got one
Mhm.
on love. It's about a 15-minute one. It's great in the morning. I love it. I
Okay.
waken up and I just plug that thing on,
Where do you
uh,
listen to it?
just in bed, laying in just oh, on not oh, on, yeah,
No,
where
I don't mean
where
like physically.
yeah, it took a minute for that to actually hit me what the question really was. As I was saying,
What
probably
platform?
nobody really wants to know that actually. What
You're
are you
like, "And I'm
wearing when
wearing
you listen to it?
pajamas." Yes.
I'm in my I'm in my Superman jammies. Uh, so
Oh,
I think you can find it on YouTube, different
okay.
places, probably
Mhm.
everywhere. And the one I'm doing is on love. It's a guided meditation on love,
Okay.
and it's just about bringing pure love is what it's called.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's the real one, but that's the one this guy
Mhm.
he might have like reposted it. But it's just
Mhm.
basically about thinking about people and their
Mhm.
hearts, and it's connecting hearts, and your heart goes into their heart, your love goes into their heart, and then you bring their heart into your heart, and then you have this you feel the energy. I love one of the
Right.
comments he's saying is feel the energy now. And
Right.
because that's energy, that love connection and the exchange of love and loving
Yeah.
feelings creates this powerful energy. And so, anyways, very interesting guy, Joe Dispenza. Anybody listening,
Right.
highly recommend Google him, go listen to his commentary and stuff. He's a wonderful person around brain work.
You know what I love
Incredible.
about that meditation and specifically you're mentioning is, and we do some compassion work in the book and a little bit
Mm,
of meta meditation, which is a form of loving kindness
yeah.
meditation. And it makes me think of when someone is experiencing despair, or they're feeling suicidal or they're overcoming
Yes.
trauma, there can be a lot of isolation and loneliness.
Yep.
And so you can feel very cut off from humanity and very cut off from love. And so
Mm,
doing things like a loving kindness meditation or a meditation centered on love, like you're saying, I think it opens the individual up to something that's very pivotal for
I
overcoming any
I
mental health
agree.
issues.
I mean, getting that into your heart, right? Elevating
Yes.
just just
Right.
recognizing and lifting up your own heart. I think if you're feeling those thoughts, like you said, that
Mhm.
isolation, just lifting your own heart up. It's kind of wild. I was doing that meditation, just a little share, and the next thing is that morning, a couple hours later, my daughter called me, and
Mhm.
the person on the other end of the line, well, no, it's my daughter's calling me on video, and
Mhm.
it's my grandson is the
Mm.
one who's looking at the camera. And
Mhm.
it was weird because I just had done the meditation a couple hours before, and when he
Mhm.
looked at me and I had
Mhm.
because I was living there for about 2 months, just not long ago,
Mhm.
and so I had them in my mind. I was like, those were the focus of my thoughts, and when he looked at me, he just had this ginormous grin,
Mm.
and it was like just
Like he
wreck
absorbed it.
he was looking at me saying, "I got your message, grandpa,"
Oh,
like, through his
that's
eyes,
sweet.
like, the smile and the
Yeah,
face just said, "Hey, I got your note this morning." They're like,
that's
"There you
so
are."
cool.
It was,
Mhm.
like, I felt that was what happened for that moment. It was really strange. Obviously, probably maybe true, maybe not true, but there is a real connection.
I mean,
Um,
there's you can look at it from a spiritual perspective and say that something beautiful happened. You can
yeah.
also, I mean, if I'm gonna get a little sciencey nerdy,
Yeah.
which I love to do,
Oh, go,
there
go.
there is research out there that shows, the transfer of energy through
Yeah.
meditation. And
Yes,
you
yeah.
even think about like salt lamps, which I don't know if you can see mine, I have up there. Probably can't see it, but
No, yeah.
they actually function in that same science around energy and transfer of energy. So I don't know if you know the science of salt lamps, but
No, come on.
okay, so here we go. When we are incredibly stressed or anxious or just having
Yeah.
negative thoughts, our body emits a positive ionic charge. That's a little
Okay.
confusing. So just think like excess energy.
Yes.
Yes, these salt lamps and also being in wide open spaces, whether it be mountain ranges or even better if you have moving water, those spaces have negative ionic charge. So it helps to balance what the body's producing when it's under stress.
Amazing.
So
So
you
this
think of meditation. Meditation is a form of almost like an internalized salt lamp, if you think about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, it is, right. I mean, you really are
Mhm.
regulating. You're getting that I think you're just kinda resetting your vagus nerve and
Mhm.
just kinda getting really all the say, the negativity out of your body when you meditate.
Mhm.
Feels like it. When I meditate and before I go to bed, I sleep really well.
That's awesome.
Yeah, especially a little bit of breath work and, just a little bit of breathing, lay down and close your eyes and wake up and, do a little pure love meditation.
I love it. And you bring up such a good point too that different meditations can serve completely different purposes.
Oh,
There
yeah.
can
Yeah.
be insight meditation that's meant to just
Yes.
let you see where you are. There's loving
Mm.
meditations that are meant to elicit positive feelings. Meditations for sleep are usually just
Yeah.
about regulating the body and the
Yeah.
breath. So, yeah, there's a form for everyone, and I will even throw this out there for those who have experienced trauma or who
Yeah.
have maybe ADHD and they struggle to quiet the monkey mind, you can do meditation with your eyes open too,
Yes. Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so just having a soft gaze or maybe something that you focus on that is grounding to you is also meditation. So is walking meditation. You said
Walking
earlier the thing
meditation.
about counting seconds.
Yes.
And I just think what a beautiful yet painful depiction of what it means to be mindful and in the moment.
I This was one of the most powerful interviews I had, and she was describing
Mm,
it, and I was in the house that she was in, and there was
mm,
the bathroom, right? She was talking about laying on the bathroom floor and what it was like to get through
wow.
those seconds, and as she was describing it, it was like I got chills down chills down your arms,
Mm,
right, when you're
mhm,
having these but right, you are right. I mean, how present are you when you are literally
right.
feel everything in your body? And interestingly, Amelia, I think, what you end up to is people are more intense that come through this stuff, right? Because they are a whole 'nother caliber of individual.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, if I think about I've worked a lot with folks who have left domestic violent
Mm,
relationships and abusive relationships as well. And the intentionality and the
yes.
decisiveness that can come
Yeah.
after knowing what you don't want to experience again
Yes.
is, I mean, it can become a superpower. And we do explore that in the book that if you have gone through this journey and you're at the
Yeah.
end, you're closing the book up at the end, like you possess a power that not
Yes.
everyone possesses,
Yeah.
surviving.
And standing on the brink, like,
Mhm.
I mean, not many of us look over the edge,
You're right. Mhm.
and I think that's maybe where the power comes from. So I think, what I think the power comes from that moment of staring over the edge and making the decision. Yeah, I've
Mhm.
seen it. I've seen what it looks like to say goodbye
Right.
and death and think about what happens and now I've stepped back.
Well, and also you consider what leads people to the edge, you know? So some of
Mm,
our warriors who have been led to the edge are led to the edge because of complex trauma that they didn't
yeah.
choose or moral
Yes.
injury. They've been exposed to things that they don't condone or the military, for instance, which is near and dear to my heart, these
Oof.
individuals who are being exposed to everything from traumatic brain injuries to the moral injury I was discussing,
Yeah,
where
yeah,
it's like to go through what brought you to the edge and then still
and
decide to
then
come
still
back. It's a
yeah,
lot.
that's another level of human,
Mhm.
especially, like you said,
Absolutely.
if they've gone through and and they're done with it, because it seems the few people that I recall having this conversation with, they've closed the door.
Mhm.
When
That's definitely the energy from Gina, for sure.
oh, yeah, gone.
Um,
That
yeah.
there's
Mhm.
and that was a chapter in her life where she's thankful for it in a weird way.
Mhm. Right, because
It
now she can live her purpose of
yeah,
helping other
I
people.
helping.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's, we were talking earlier about just trying to one of the objectives is to and for certainly for this show, we've got the new banner on here, listen, share, support, and, it's
With
kind of a
your
double
logo that I
message.
love.
Yeah, with the brain and the brain flower, and, this is the listen, share, support on both sides, right? Listening to the
Mhm.
show, sharing it, supporting it, and then, listening to guest message and
Mhm.
sharing the message and kinda supporting the whole journey of mental health, and we talked earlier about making it more okay to talk about it,
Mhm.
to talk about how you're feeling, and I gotta say I'm pretty 2 shout outs to 2 close friends who
Mhm.
both in the last week have kinda just confided in me. I'm struggling right now, to be
Mm.
honest, just man to man,
Mhm.
and unprompted sharing,
Mhm.
that I'm not doing so well at times.
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time right now. Um
Mm.
Tough message to hear. Not sure what to do with it
Yeah.
sometimes. What do you do with that
Well,
as a
first of
friend?
all, I'm so glad to hear that another man.
Yes, I was like, the second one time it
Mhm.
happened, I was like, "Oh my if I got, like, on my forehead, do I have tell me how you're feeling
Mhm.
today?" 'Cause
Mhm.
I was really that's like a blessing.
Yes, it is. And also the awareness that if people are open to sharing with you, that at some point you also need to
I
share your own pain and take care of
okay,
yourself too.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and so what I mean, how do I talk to somebody? I'm sure there'd be a listener, right? And they know
Mhm.
somebody or somebody says that.
Yeah.
Um, you gotta take it serious in a way too, but it's not like I'm
Right.
gonna, I wanna take my life today. It's just, man, life is tough right now. I'm having a hard
Yeah.
time, it sucks.
I think first and foremost, we need to obliterate the myth that asking, "Do you wanna hurt yourself or kill yourself?" will make someone think of doing it. That's
Yeah, I don't think
wrong.
yeah,
It's
that seems
wrong, it's wrong, it's wrong, and
I
I
love it.
think when we ask the questions and we open up the conversation,
Yeah,
it gives people this opportunity to be safer and to actually speak up. So maybe he would say no, maybe he just needs your active listening.
yes,
But if he says yes, ask more. Don't stop there. I think
yeah.
sometimes there's this notion, "Oh, okay, what do I do?" It's almost like this panic.
Yeah, like, you shouldn't have told me. I didn't really mean the
Yeah, I
question.
did. Yeah, I was kidding. I
I
take it
I
back.
I know I asked it, but I didn't really want you to answer it.
Right. But slow down. So first of all,
Okay.
recognize the reaction in your body. Try
Yes.
to breathe into your body. You're right
Yeah.
here. This is the moment in this space. And then
Mm.
ask the questions. Be curious, but be non-judgmental. The
Yeah.
less judgmental you are and the just more open and receptive you are to the person sharing, the more honestly they will share.
The more okay.
Mhm. And then from there, if it feels like it's too big and your container
Mm.
is not big enough, and
Yes.
this is important, if they are unsafe, if they do have a plan,
Yes.
if they do feel if they have means, ask who they have in their corner. Do they have a therapist they're working with? Do they have a
Okay.
provider? Is there someone that you can help prompt them to get linked up to? Is there
Mm.
someone else? Because one of the mistakes, too, I think, with supporting people with suicidality or deep, deep depression or despair is this notion that you have to hold it all on your shoulders. Instead, it should be a team effort.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? So if I have a client who has ever expressed suicidal ideation, past or present, I immediately we not only do a safety plan at the beginning of working together that we check back on, but we also do a release of information where they give me a safe person that I can contact if ever they're in need of me doing so.
Okay.
Someone in their
Interesting.
corner. But what happens if there's no one in their corner? They feel that because that can happen a lot for people who come
God, tough
from
I mean, that's a tough que you ask the question and they look around up and they roll their eyes and go, "Yeah, no."
In those situations, I am going to try to find other support avenues that we can integrate. So, whether
Okay.
that be a doctor, a support group, even an online support group. I mean, just anything outside of just me as the therapist, I think
Yes.
is
Yeah.
really important. And it can also be like for Gina, it was spirituality. It was her whole
Yeah.
spiritual
Sure.
practice, her spiritual teachers. So it could even be someone like your yoga teacher or your, anything that is part of your wellness bubble, I
Mm.
guess. Um, and then from there, I mean, sometimes tough decisions do need to be made where maybe the person needs help immediately. And
Yes.
don't ignore that. I have a serious pet peeve with people undermining suicidal ideation by saying they're just trying to get attention. Well, of course.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Yeah, that's the and if they don't get some help, attention, air
Right.
quote attention, then it's not gonna
Right.
end well.
Isn't it funny if you take the word attention, if we say you're just trying to get attention, it can feel negative. But what if
Yes.
you say they're trying to be attended to?
Too. Yeah, yeah.
It like changes our mindset about it. So they're trying to get their issues attended to.
Yeah, and it's outside of their individual capability right now.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
think that's it.
Right.
They know they need help, and it's like they're looking internally, and it's not, and that's where the demons are sometimes.
Right.
If you go to yourself and you
Yes.
yourself, you're already lost the battle possibly. You're in
And
that
there's
negative
one other
conversation.
thing. I really encourage people to express gratitude to the person who shared.
Oh, I love that.
Like, "Thank you for trusting me with this. Thank you for
Yes.
sharing this with me." Because that is what will help change the
Yeah,
notion that
yes.
suicidality is a burden.
And
As
they
a
shouldn't tell the next person or somebody else, like, "Oh, that,"
Exactly.
and that would be a huge relief on me from me just feeling that if I told somebody that, that would
Mhm.
feel awkward and pretty
Mhm.
desperate.
Mhm.
But if they came back and said, "I really appreciate that,"
Mhm.
wow,
Right.
that would lift me up a lot.
Mhm.
Yeah, great great coaching right there. Now
You're welcome.
now I have to go back. I have to a couple conversations I need to have. Maybe this call is perfect timing.
Who knows? And
Yeah,
that's the beautiful thing about, like, spreading the word on mental health and the writing and self-help. It's really collective help if you think
yeah,
about it, because there's always someone else involved in that.
yeah, you can't write your own self-help book. Yeah, you go into some
Mm-mm.
you're if you're self-helping, you're using somebody else's experience or their
Mhm.
ideas, or the
Mhm.
creativity. Um,
Absolutely.
hey, one other a little side topic before we kinda come circle back around. The powered by ADHD. Give us a
Mhm.
little you're a I mean, you're out I don't wanna say you're prolific, but you're pretty but
I'm working on
you're
it.
you do one more double book, one more double book, thing, and we're gonna throw that at you, and hang you with that one. But, somebody who's slightly I feel like I'm ADHD. I don't even know if it is a thing, and it's my secret.
Mhm.
Whatever I am, it's my secret sauce at 62.
Mhm.
I'm not looking to get diagnosed. It's
Mhm.
just who I am. But tell
Mhm.
us about, because it's such a common word thrown around now, ADHD.
Mhm.
And what would you how do you look at it powered by? Because it is kind of an interesting,
Way to
um
look at it.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm. So I love that you said did you say secret sauce or special sauce?
It's my secret sauce.
Your secret sauce. I do see it that way. I
Yeah.
see ADHD as not I really don't see it as a disorder. I see it as a deviation.
Mhm. Yeah.
And it's a deviated brain, it's different. There's a neurodiversity there that does cause struggle. I'm not saying that it doesn't make life
Yes.
ec- astronomically more difficult for some people, especially considering the situation you're in, the demands, what stage of life you're
Mhm.
in, whether you're a woman or a man,
Yeah.
because and I do explore in the book that women also deal with the hormonal changes every month that change their
God,
symptoms.
jeez, couldn't imagine.
Every month their symptoms change. It's just wild. And so the premise of the book is not only talking about the executive functions that can be impacted,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
the gifts. I mean, spontaneity, hyper focus, creativity,
Yeah,
energy. These are ADHD gifts.
yeah.
And I am a strong proponent of unmasking. A lot of
Mm,
people intensely mask their symptoms because either they don't feel comfortable sharing that they have the diagnosis or they just want to fit into society.
right.
But if we unmask, it actually allows you to get better supports and understanding you're not going to change or cure
Yes. Yeah.
ADHD.
Yeah, that's the
Right. It's more so learning how to prop up your life in certain ways so that the gifts you do have can be
yeah.
developed. Yes, I love this topic. My doctoral dissertation focused on exercise, the use of high intensity interval training for ADHD symptom management. So I've been hooked on this for
Oh.
a while.
Oh, I love that. I
Hmm.
for sure, some of my most, the when I am more productive, like, if I have a day and it's a more productive day or a period of time in my life, definitely
Hmm.
I was doing some crazy exercising as well to
Hmm.
just to, start the day off,
Dopamine.
and just doping myself up until to the point
Hmm.
where I was, fried, right? You completely burn your
Hmm.
body out, and somewhere in
Hmm.
there, I think your chemicals in your brain are catching, it's
Hmm.
all balancing out. But
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, when I was doing some high crazy training for 50 something, for sure my most creative and most, productive.
Awesome. That's really
Yeah,
cool. And to reassure your listeners,
yeah.
You don't have to train for a triathlon to manage your symptoms. You can actually get benefit from 10 to 20 minutes of,
Yes.
like, a HIIT workout, just
Yeah.
and there's true benefit to walks and long, slow exercise, but there is something different that happens to the brain when it's highly
Yeah.
intense.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it is very different when you
Mhm.
finish a good, like, even a 12 minutes of just
Right.
bananas,
Mhm.
12 to 20 minutes, you're done. That's all you need.
Mhm. And you
But
get
having an
roughly 3 to 4 hours of focus, a little bit more
Ye
measured focus, and then
yes.
it'll start to dip again. So if you have
Yeah.
something important coming up in the afternoon, do another 10 minutes.
Yeah, or do a walk. Get out and just walk around the
Mhm.
block. I find,
Mhm.
getting up and like you said, the closed spaces, all these kind of
Mhm.
things that we've been living through, and people have been, I think it brought a lot of people, if you were ADHD and you were stuck in for COVID for a couple of years. Oof.
Mm. Well, and if you think about, Tom Hartman's book about exploring, I think it's like, Hunters in a Farmer's World or something like farmers something along
Oh,
those lines.
okay.
Such a good book, and exploring how really historically ADHD was the strength. ADHD were the people who were able to stay up late, figure out, watch, keep the pack safe, keep everyone, hands on. And then you have our current society, which is much more stagnant and
Yes.
metaphoric and screen heavy. And it's not good for the ADHD brain. And so some people say, are we
Interesting.
getting more ADHD? Is this an overdone diagnosis? In my opinion, I just think the lifestyle we have is making the
Ah,
ADHD brain struggle a little bit more, so we're noticing it more.
interesting. Yeah, and,
Mhm,
this hunter thing, it's always, I love the
mhm,
hunter-gatherer analogy
mhm,
because I use it a lot at work.
mm.
I did a lot of insurance sales,
Okay.
and so we used to call them hunter skinners.
Oh, and do you know sales is really good for the ADHD brain? That's a
It's,
great
all my
job for ADHD brains.
all the top people I hung with are all we're all in the crew. We're all in the ADHD gang,
Mhm.
for sure. If I look at some of the people that I worked with that were very successful, 100%,
And the most
100%.
successful ADHD brains who do find their niche figure out how to get someone who is more of a farmer to do the tasks for
Yeah,
them that they don't
yeah.
necessarily excel at, if that makes sense.
Oh,
Like, even for my own podcast, I love outreach, I love people, I love newness. It's just like that's my
yes.
jam. But my co-host, she's a totally different brain than me, and she loves all the, like, editing and well, maybe she doesn't love it, but she's she's good at all the back
Sh
matter, and I'm like, "She is the farmer and I'm the hunter, and together we make a good
Oh,
combo."
what a great combo. Yeah, you
Mhm.
need that combo. Yeah, it's something
Yes.
I'm staying with a friend of mine, and a grade school friend, actually, it's kinda fun. We're 62, and I'm staying with a grade
Oh,
school
that's
friend.
cool.
Yeah, for about a month, and, I look at him and I'm like, "Wow, you really got ADHD."
But you bring up a good point though, because you're, self-identifying and seeing it in someone else. We were talking about at the beginning of your show that
Yes,
it's all a spectrum. Just because
it's a
someone
spectrum.
does or does not meet criteria for something. I mean, my husband is very high ADHD and attentive type. It's very
Okay.
obvious. He inspired my dissertation study, whereas whereas I'm a highly sensitive person that
Oh my god.
presents with kind of more mild ADHD symptoms if
Okay.
I don't have the right environmental factors.
Ah,
You
yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah,
So it's just different types of
yeah.
brains.
Yeah, it's great to see him, and we've had great conversations around, managing our
Mhm.
businesses,
Mhm.
and just what you said, which is, note to my friend is you gotta get someone to clean you are a power boat that's just creates a ginormous wake. You need someone behind you to clean up, like, you need someone to,
I like that. Good
following
metaphor.
behind you to kinda clean that stuff
Mhm.
up, and just make
Mhm.
you so you can keep going.
Right.
Because you're good at that, like, you are good at cutting through the waves and that's you excel at that. Don't
Mhm.
stop and go back and try to clean up. You need someone to help you do that. It's so true.
And in the ADHD world, they call it body doubling often, where you
Oh,
get
okay.
someone who they don't even have to be doing the thing. Sometimes they just have to be present so you can do the thing.
I
The thing that maybe you're avoiding or procrastinating on. So that's
oh,
a little
man.
different than finding like the farmer to help you,
Right.
but it's another really important thing, and it brings back the whole idea of community and
Yes.
working together as a collective.
And it's a great I mean, that's a great tool to have in your kit bag.
Absolutely.
Great tool to have in your kit bag. So, maybe back to the book and the ideas. When is it out now? I missed that part. It's not out yet.
I'm gonna be really funny here. Which book are you talking
Yeah, I
about?
know. I know,
They
back to the
came
main
out they came out a month apart from each other.
Oh my
You're
god.
talking about
Okay,
the
so yeah,
this
surviving
one?
suicidal ideation.
This
Yeah.
one.
Oh my goodness. Okay, see, I didn't see it.
It's
Oh.
it's it's coming out on the 28th. So
Okay, okay.
yes, yes. So, well, this is the author copy. They send us
I
a stack of them, which is exciting.
That's what you get when you're getting paid to write.
Mhm, mhm.
Is it
Yep, your own box.
is it worth it to get paid to write when have it is it good to have a overlord?
You mean another job?
Yeah, I mean when they're paying you to when they're doing the book, right? When they're on
Oh,
the book side.
it's funny. I have written 4 books in every single no, 3 in 3 different ways. So
Okay.
I've
Oh,
self yes. So
oh,
I've
you're okay, great
self-published.
question then for you.
Yep, I've self-published the first
Okay.
time, and that was with she was a phenomenal writer, my co-author, Kendall Ann, and she and I were really perfectionistic about editing. We had gone with kind of like a boutique publisher that helped with all the packaging and getting it
Okay.
out, and so that was whew, if you do not wanna do a lot of work, self-publishing is not the way to go. But I'm glad we did it. I learned a lot.
You
The
learn a lot, yeah.
next yes, the next 2 with, Penguin Random House were, I wanna say hire to write. Basically, they pitched me a, project, and
Okay.
then they paid me upfront for, like, what they projected I would make off the
Time
book.
right. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes, and so that was great. I mean, the first one, I made a good, nice lump, and the next one I did even more because I had a working relationship with them. Now this one was traditional. This was like pitching, publisher,
okay.
all of that, and the main difference I see between the 3, like I said, the first method, a lot of work up front. Second
Amen.
method Second method was like a well-oiled machine. It might also be just because of the publisher I was working with, but
Yeah, yeah.
luckily my editors and my team really allowed me to have a lot of my own voice, but I don't know if everyone who is hired to write something has the
Yeah.
really great experience I did. I am so grateful for Zeitgeist, which was the imprint I went with. And then this last one, the surviving suicidal ideation, because it was traditional, I think that felt the most collaborative because
Yeah, yeah.
we all had skin in the game,
Okay.
so it was just very different experiences
I
all
lo
around.
Yeah, I agree. I've done 1 book so far and,
Mhm.
working on another one, but the first
Oh,
one was my own
did you
self-publication.
self-publish?
God.
It's a lot of work to self-publish, right?
At the end of it, I did not wanna see I haven't read the book since it came out a year ago.
What is it? What's the book?
It's called Dear God,
Oh,
and
okay.
so, yeah, so is this, I lived in the largest Muslim country, the largest Christian country, the largest Hindu, the largest Buddhist, and I've also
Mhm.
lived in the largest country with no religion.
Which one is
Um,
that?
China,
Oh,
Asia,
China,
China,
okay.
Vietnam. I mean,
Yep, got
China's
it.
there's no God.
Yep.
Um, Same in Vietnam, essentially. I mean, there's Christianity.
Mhm.
There's Christianity is probably the biggest. I think it's 5 or
Mhm.
10% or something.
Mhm.
But basically, I believed everything, believed nothing, and kind of
Mm.
had these ideas to write letters to God and to check
Wow.
in and to say, hey, I think this is what this is all about.
Right. Huh,
So I
I'll have to
wrote
check it out.
Yeah, it's kind of a fun I think the construct is quite fun. I'll go back and I'll do a rewrite at some point, but I
Mhm.
put 4 parts to it. The book of self, kinda
Mhm.
your own self, and that was
Mhm.
around yesterdays, todays, and tomorrows.
Mhm.
So how you look at your past, how you look, at present, and how you think about the future. And
Mhm.
then kind of others, the book of others was acceptance, forgiveness, compassion.
Mhm.
And so just kind of writing letters to God saying, I think this is what acceptance is. Did I get it
Mm.
right?
Mhm.
And then the book of all, which is kind of that outer circle, from us
Mhm.
is l- let me get it right. Karma, service, and what is that? What lost my spot. Yesterday
Honestly,
to
sometimes I forget the tagline at the end of some of my titles,
I
so
know I know it's like I couldn't
I'm
even
not
remember.
judging.
Yeah, so it's like it's love, hope, and the last one is faith, hope, and prayer. So the last
Okay.
one is book. So it's I forget what the other one is. Karma, service. Yeah, karma, service. Can't remember the last one. And then faith, hope,
Mhm.
and prayer. It's kind of
Mm.
the God part. Kind of
Mhm.
a nod to God, and just writing letters, 4 letters on each topic, and just kind of
Mhm.
testing my theories of life
Mhm.
and the
Dear
infinite,
God.
dear God,
Dear
and
God. Okay, I'm gonna look it
the
up.
infinite wisdom of God or whoever, the universe. I was then
Mhm.
given the idea to go ask those questions to my fellow humans. So that's how the jar got started.
Oh. Oh, that's
And
cool.
I used the book to create the 444 questions for the jar.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah,
Huh.
so that's the jar logo. You see the little jar with
Mhm.
the brain, and that's kind of a
Mhm.
shout back to the jar podcast.
Mhm. Oh, that's a really cool story. I like how you've, taken one idea and that, folks, is what the ADHD brain can do.
Powered by ADHD. I just love
Yes.
that. I feel like that's a bumper sticker almost,
Mhm, mhm. Yeah,
right?
geez, what would the logo be for that? Be someone running in 15 directions.
Oh, yeah, hold on, I have that. Oh, that's a great comment to wrap up with. Yesterday, I did a call with a couple of, guys that they're interested in helping me, with branding and direction and everything. And, we had a long it was they I don't know what they must have really just cracked up because they're looking at like, normally we take these calls and we got people doing a few things and nothing's built
Mhm,
out. They got these ideas and they're like,
mhm.
"You, however, are going in 8 directions. Everything's built out. Like, but we have no idea who the heck you are." Like, what do you
Okay. They're like,
so
"So we're the farmers, we're gonna weed all the good," like, they're weeding the crops.
they're trying to get me to which
Uh-huh.
piece of land to till to
Yes.
focus a little bit more on. They're like, "You gotta focus on one thing. You gotta be one person and then build from there."
Right.
But it was kind of and so he was saying, "Are you familiar with this book?" And I can't remember the name of the book, but he had drawn what it was, and it was, 2
Mhm.
circles,
Mhm.
and one circle had arrows coming off in every direction,
Mhm.
very short. And then
Okay.
the other was a circle with a very long straight arrow,
Mhm.
and he's like, You need to be over here." And I'm like, "Yeah, but
And
I'm but"
center all of this.
yeah, and just power all that into one like, if you focused all of that into one thing, you'd be amazing. And
You
I was
bring
like,
up such a good point, though, why I think some people get so stuck where I call it the cart before the horse syndrome, where it's like you think
"Hmm,
of the end result, but then there's nothing to pull it along,
yes,
right? And so
yes,
the ADHD brain is really spontaneous and good at coming up with all these different ideas and
yeah,
passions. I joke that and I don't know if this is me being a highly sensitive person or an ADHD type brain, but the movie Free Willy, I don't know if you
yeah,
remember it.
yes, yep."
I subsequently went and adopted a whale after watching it. Like, as a very,
Oh, that's so ADHD. Oh, I love
like, or the movie Tomb Raider. I don't know if you remember that one.
Yeah, yeah,
I enrolled in taekwondo for a month after it. Like very driven by, like, just the passion,
oh,
but so I think that's one of the big things about, harnessing the gift of, spontaneity, focus,
yes,
creativity is the boundaries
yeah,
being set, and so sometimes it might be other people doing that for you, creating those boundaries for you. Sometimes it's you doing things, whether it be alarms, calendars,
yes, yeah.
things with your time, just whatever you can do because your creative arrow wants to find its direction for sure.
It's yeah, that other arrow is jealous of the big arrow. I mean, I looked at it was kind of funny when I finally did look at when he showed me, he had taken a minute to draw it. When he showed it to me, I was like, I don't know if that's selling me on it, actually. I kinda like the arrow and and all if
You're
I
like,
do
"Can
the
we
other
have
one
more arrows?"
yeah, can I have 2 half arrows or,
Mhm.
all I could think of was all the other arrows are gonna be so jealous of the one arrow, like, and then
What
what if I
if
get it yeah,
what if there's like an entity and all the arrows are inside, but the whole entity is moving in the same direction?
also good, right? And I think
Mhm.
that's kind of what I'm doing in a way. I'm trying to do all
Yeah.
of it at once, and it may take
Mhm.
longer,
Mhm.
somehow, but I'll
Mhm.
try a little more focus. Amelia, amazing conversation. I love meeting somebody else who's got, powered by ADHD a little bit, um,
Little
and
sauce.
a little secret sauce. And
Mhm.
thank you so much for the book. I mean, I can't wait for this to come out, and we'll definitely coming out on it's coming out next week,
Yep.
next Friday.
Mhm. Yes, sir.
Well, that's perfect because you will be swarmed by a new group of young, hungry interns.
Yay.
I just sent out my mail for tomorrow. I got a meeting tomorrow at 4 with the first batch,
Mhm.
my next batch, and I've had, interns help me out on this show. I'm so appreciative and so lucky to
Awesome.
find people who are willing to jump in and help and do it for the love of the work and the experience, and then some for school credit. So
Right?
no shame there. Show as long as you show up. I don't care
That's
what
a
the
great
motive I'm not
idea.
yeah, I'm when you're bootstrapping it, you get really creative.
Mhm. I'm gonna actually bank that idea. Thank you.
I we can talk in a minute offline.
Mhm.
Any kind of closing thoughts, any messages you wanna and I'm sorry, but I'm just now asking you, how do people find you? I do
Oh,
that
no,
in the
that's
big
okay.
normally I do that in the beginning of the show because I hate it when people do it at the end.
No worries. So I'm pretty active on Instagram
Okay,
at Dr. Amelia Kelley, just my name with an EY. And then my website, ameliakelly.com. I try to put a lot of resources on there. So I actually
okay.
have free resources from my books right there that you can plug in. So things like the suicide safety plan, the domestic violence safety plan of how to get out safely, a handful of the meditations, like just things that I don't want just readers to have access to, but
Yes.
really anyone. And then it's a place where you can find like my Psychology Today articles or
Oh,
different
great.
blog posts, or just it's a one-stop shop that is always changing and evolving.
Ah,
So,
I love that, as a soft plug, so it's Amelia Kelly, Kelley
yes.
.com.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, very cool too. Thanks again for being on the show. Thanks
Thanks for having
for
me.
yeah, and stick around for a couple minutes. I will chat on the other we'll chat on the other side.
Absolutely.
Thanks everybody for listening, supporting mental health today. If you liked what you heard, drop down on whatever platform you're on, give us some stars, give us a little bit of love, say some kind words or not so kind words are also okay. You know,
It's all about the
any
logarithm.
it's all about the algorithm. So, you can even shout and curse at us on there and I'll love you even more. Hang on, I'll see you in 30 seconds.
Yeah, loose, baby.
But we're about to go and make this vessel with these great professionals at Public Glass. We're not part of the community, but we're from the outer family of glassblowing. Yeah, we're gonna go make a magical giant jar with optic lenses so that if you turn it, it changes all the time. So if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
In the mirror.